Okay, another husband one. Ready?
Yeah.
What what I do with my husband is indecisive. I feel like I'm being the leader in certain areas that are his responsibility.
Indecisive.
Indecisive.
So what that says to me is he's not making a yes. I mean, like he's not making a decision. Like, should we go to church? Should we do this? That kind of thing. Do you think that's what she's saying?
Yeah, I think that, well, I mean, I'm reading into what
Okay.
they're saying, but I think that it goes back to what we were just talking about, where we live in a time where guys are pansies. They're supposed to spiritually be the leader and make decisions. And we live in a time, I don't know, maybe I'm painting with a broad brush, but culturally speaking, we live in a time where we need men leaders.
Yes, and I do have to say that I don't like it. I'm going to be the first to admit that I do not like it all the time, but Mitch is not indecisive. He makes a decision. Maybe your husband is indecisive. So again, a broad brush here. Maybe he's indecisive because every time he makes a decision, you argue with him about it. Or every time he makes a
knows you don't like
decision,
it.
you don't like it. Every time he makes a decision, you give him the cold shoulder for a couple hours, or you hold it over him in bed, or whatever. Or you make little snide comments, or you tell your friends. That could be why he's indecisive. He needs to know, the Bible says that in Proverbs 31, that the heart of her husband trusts her. He safely trusts her. She does him good and not evil all the days of his life. So what's good for your husband? What's good is you share I like how Steve says it. You share with your information. He now has your information about this situation, whatever he's being indecisive about. And then you say, basically, honey, I'm praying for you, and whatever you choose to do, I'll follow you. And then,
And you know what else? Steve always says this to me too, and I never thought of it
Yeah.
before, but he said, it's super easy to be submissive when they're doing everything you
yes,
want.
when you want.
So that's easy. I'm super good at that. I think I'm super submissive until Steve says something else, and I'm like, what? No.
No, I'm not
No, I don't
so
like that.
submissive.
Right.
Yeah.
So it might be something
Yeah.
in that direction too. So
Yeah, and maybe it's not that. Maybe he just needs to know that you're on his side.
Yeah.
Honey, I know this is a hard decision. Do you want my opinion? And let's pray about it together. And I'm for you. Whatever, you decide. I'm going to be on board with you. And then I think the rubber meets the road when the situation blows up or maybe doesn't turn out the way you thought. That you don't go, I told you so. Or,
Yeah.
you
What
may
an
have to
idiot.
help
Yeah.
him. Yeah, you may need to help him through that. He feels like a failure. But
So we talked about this on the show before, I remember, but it goes back to the fall, right, where,
Yeah.
the Adam and Eve thing, where she makes a decision, doesn't go out and doesn't go well, so the Lord flips that and goes, you are going to make the decisions and you will submit to your husband. And I think, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
you were commenting on that and saying, I want the power.
I do. We want
we
the power.
do. We want to rule.
But then we really don't.
I know.
So-
but the world
Yes.
tells us we should rule because you guys are a bunch of idiots. I don't know.
Right.
You guys can't even figure out
It's on
anything
every
anyways.
commercial.
Yeah, and so
Every
I
sitcom.
can't stand that. And that makes guys be wimpy.
Yeah.
That's what they've been raised in, right? And so then they think, well, I don't know.
can't make
What's
a
the point anyways?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we take right on over. Super easy, just take on over.
Yeah.
And I have to admit too, sometimes Mitch doesn't make decisions as quickly as I'd like him to, so it seems indecisive.
But maybe they're
But
praying.
again, I'm trying to control it. I'm trying to say we're going to let's make it right now. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to do this thing.
And maybe they're praying about it. Maybe they don't know yet.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah, and so I've had this conversation with Amber before, where this struggle. It's a struggle. I don't know anyone that hasn't gone through this at a little bit at some point in their marriage, just because of our sinful nature.
Right.
Going back to the follow-up, what we talked about, but there was a point where she made the comment where she wanted me to start taking responsibility in certain areas.
Yes.
Well, then I did that, and then it was like. So just to, not a specific example, but hey, could you go do this? And I do that. She's like, well, you don't need to do that. And,
Do it that way.
yeah.
Yes.
And so it is a battle, but I think communication, especially where it's easier for her if she understands that even if I don't do what she wants, I'm not doing it out of spite or out of selfishness, but it's because that's the decision that I made, knowing that that she knows that I still love her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they know that you love them and you're making a decision that they don't really deem appropriate, it's a lot easier to take.
Yeah.
Whereas if you rule the rod of iron and just, well, do what I say, woman, because I'm the man and I make the
Oh, yeah,
decisions.
yeah.
it can kind of
Yeah.
throw a wrench into things.
And then also, you might do it a little bit differently than she thinks that you should do it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I don't know. I can think it like, well, I would come home sometimes
of
from
times,
things, and I'd
yes.
be like, I don't know what happened. What happened in the house here?
Right.
What happened? And Steve would say, like, I was watching the kids. I'm like, well, I watch them every day and do the dishes and laundry. But what he really meant was he was actually playing with them.
Right.
I'm not playing with them. I'm like, get over there and go do something because I'm busy.
Yeah.
Right? He was seriously playing with them.
Yeah. Took
They
them
loved
outside
it
for a
when
walk
Dad.
or
Yeah.
whatever,
So
yeah.
he doesn't do it exactly like me, but so what? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would ask that question. I would seriously before the Lord say, okay, God, is he indecisive because, I'm not being a support, or I get on him when he makes a wrong decision, or, I would ask those questions.
And then just pray for God to give him the answer
Yes.
to whatever it is that you want, that you're waiting for a decision, right? You'd be praying
And
for
he
him.
will.
Speak to him, God. Tell him what it is.
I remember one time I really wanted to go visit my family. We were in Big Bear, and my sister lived in, so we lived in Southern California. My sister lived in Monterey at the time. And the girls and I wanted to go spend Easter break with her. And Mitch was working, and he goes, well, I just don't really think you should go. That's a long drive. And I said, well, I really want to go and do it. And it was one of the rare times in the early years of my Christian walk, our Christian marriage, that I listened to him. And like not even 3 days later, he came up and handed me some cash. He said, well, God told me to let you go. So, God can change their
Yeah,
mind. I've
that's
seen
right.
him do it many times.
That's right.